Hello, this is Andy Hodson, the IB coordinator at North Central High School. Going to take you through some instructions that you need to know for the May 2025 invigilation season. First lesson is right there. Proctors for IB are called invigilators. So if you see that term popping up, it just means proctor or someone supervising the exam. First of all, I just want to say thank you for agreeing to come and assist with AP and IB examinations this session. We really honestly couldn't get it done without an army of proctors and vigilators to help. So Cynthia and I are really grateful for that. Cynthia will be sending along some separate instructions for proctoring AP exams. And if you do both, you'll see that there are some significant differences between the two, but they're also at the heart very, very similar. So, some general expectations that we're going to have this assessment season. Please arrive as scheduled. The exam start time is the exam start time. We actually need you to be there 15 to 20 minutes ahead of the scheduled exam time in order to make sure that the room's set up. Materials are passed out. More on that later. But you just really don't want to be coming in at the last second and trying to do these examinations. Also, just please remember that arrival and dismissal times at North Central High School can be really hectic and with all the buses and car riders and people getting picked up and dropped off. So just build that into your arrival time and any expectations you might have for getting off campus quickly at our dismissal time as well. Just bear that in mind. Please communicate any issues or delays. If something comes up in your life and you're not going to be able to make a particular session, we understand things happen, but please just let us know as quickly as possible so that we can make sure that we have someone else to step in for you. And then while you're in the room, more on this later, but please remain vigilant. So it's right there in the name of invigilator. We want to make sure that you're focused and attentive to the students' needs. And more on that in a little bit. And then lastly, there's my contact information, my cell phone number. And I want you to be able to please feel free to reach out and text me for anything, even during the examinations as things are going on. If a student gets a bloody nose, or there's some kind of other emergency, or there's some distraction that's happening outside the room, or you're just confused and don't know what to do, just save this number in your cell phone and message me whenever you need me. Okay, just some basic terminology. IB is a little weird. There's a lot of unique terminology to the program. Don't worry though, like once you've done this a couple of times, it's really very simple when you get down to it. It sounds confusing at first, but it actually all works out pretty easily. First thing is the term answer booklet, and this is what most students will use to write their free responses in. They can use as many of these as are needed, and you'll see up there at the top, they're going to put their name and their candidate number. This doesn't look exactly like an answer booklet these days. This is a little bit of an older model, but it's very similar. It'll look very, very similar. The instructions will be the same, and the basic format will be the same. And then you'll also have these string tags that IB will give you. There'll be a little hole up here at the top left-hand side of the answer booklet, and those tags will go in the answer booklets and through the cover sheet to hold those together. More on that in this slide. This is an example of a cover sheet that students will get for each and every exam. It'll have their name on it. It'll have their candidate code. It'll have their high school, the subject level, all that stuff will be on the cover sheet. And you'll see in the instructions, it'll ask the students to make sure that they have the appropriate cover sheet. And then they'll also see here, they'll write the answer, or sorry, they'll write the number of the question that they answer in the answer booklet. So with IB exams, students often have choices over which questions they're going to answer, and so they'll put that there. Even if they don't have a choice, they're still going to write their question information there. Okay, there are four different kinds of exams: an unstructured, semi-structured, structured, and a multiple choice exam. In an unstructured exam, students are going to write all of their answers in that free response booklet that I just showed you a moment ago. Some examples of this will be anthropology, English Lit, and history. So the kids will just be handwriting all of their answers in the free response space. Those of you that may have had college experiences with blue books, it's a lot like that kind of answer format. A semi-structured exam is where some of the answers are going to be written on the exam paper itself. So in the exam booklet, others will be written in those 4-page answer booklets. Some examples of this will come from math. A structured exam is where all the answers are going to be written in the exam booklet. Examples of those are science and math, and then multiple choice exams. Just like it sounds, students will put all the answers on a multiple choice answer sheet, and those will be most common in our science classes. And again, those will come with the student's name and information on them preloaded. Things not allowed in the exam room, pretty obvious. Well, sorry, let me back this up. They're allowed in the room, but they will be silenced, they will be off, and they will be in the students' backpacks, placed somewhere at a distance from the students. And that point about them being silenced and off is really important because, again, we don't want somebody's phone ringing in their backpack at the back of the room while everybody's trying to concentrate on the exam. So, really reminding students to turn their phones off, not just, I don't know, whatever. Just make sure that they're off. Also, laptops are not allowed anywhere near the students. So again, those should be in backpacks, should be off in the back of the room or wherever we've decided is a safe spot for those. Also, you want to check for any wearable technology. These days, a lot of people have smartwatches, earbuds, that kind of stuff. And oftentimes they just wear them without even thinking about it. So, really keep an eye out for that. I wear a watch every day. I don't wear a smartwatch, but it's just second nature to me. So you can imagine a student just having one on and not really thinking about it, not trying to cheat necessarily, but just, you just want to make sure you're looking. And then students will not be able to use correction fluid, so like whiteout. They're just going to cross things out and continue answers there. The reason for this is that all these exam papers basically get scanned and uploaded, and things like correction fluid, highlighters, gel pens, those kinds of things smudge. So they'll just be using blue and black ink, except for some rare instances where they may be using a pencil. You also don't want to have any reference materials allowed in the room or allowed with the student during the exam. So things like dictionaries, notes, notebooks, all that kind of stuff. That should all be away and at a distance from the students. Allowed or required during examinations, like I said, we're going to want to have blue or black pens, ink pens. I'll have extras available for every exam. So if a student's forgotten theirs or they run out of ink, we'll have a backup for them. Pencils are only going to be used in approved places, and again, we'll cover those, on those exact exam days. Generally, they're going to be used for graphs and diagrams. So those will only be on some science and or math exams. Students are allowed to use approved calculators on selected exams, and those calculators need to be again inspected and set in exam mode. And I will assist with that whenever that's an issue. So again, you don't need to worry about the particulars of that. I'll be there to assist with the calculator process. Water bottles are allowed. Please inspect them though for unapproved aids, notes or any kind of hints that the students may have tried to put on their water bottle. Obviously, if they have some general stickers like kids do these days of their, favorite brands or national parks or whatever, that's okay. But you just want to check to make sure they don't have math equations on there or vocabulary words or, that kind of stuff. Believe it or not, IB allows students to have a lucky charm that is at their desk. Again, this isn't something that a lot of students will do, but it's just kind of an interesting thing being an international program. There are cultures around the world that put great significance in charms or totems or crystals or things like that. So again, it's not something I'm really going to advertise a lot to the kids, and many of them won't do it. But if a kid does bring in a small crystal or a lucky rock or I don't know, whatever, that's not a problem. Just make sure again you inspect it to make sure it doesn't have any unimproved aid on it. And then I'll also have for the candidates in every exam room just some mints. Again, I think, these kids, if you've taken standardized tests before, staying awake, staying alert, just having something to, put in your mouth and give you a little hint of sugar or whatever isn't necessarily a bad thing. So I'll have some small candies or mints or things like that that the kids can, take a couple and have at their desk while they're working. Okay, our start times. Morning exams have to start between 8:30 and 9. Arrival time for students, is 8:35 is when our classes start. So that really shouldn't be a problem. That's a normal expectation for the kids. Some might even arrive earlier, and that's okay. We can allow that. They can gather outside the space and calm and get ready for the exam. But we do need to start by 9. Again, in the morning exams, I will be there pretty much every morning, either proctoring the exam myself or getting things started. So, don't worry about that. We'll be there in the morning. Afternoon exams are supposed to start between 12:30 and 1 p.m. I teach that during that time. So that's where we'll really need the invigilators to be a little more independent. Again, I will be in the building and I'll be accessible and I'll be able to come check on things and stuff like that. But the afternoon exam times will be a little more on the invigilators that aren't me. Some possible complications that have or will come up or might come up: bus and transportation issues. A lot of the IB kids are kids that are driving themselves or riding with other friends to school. So we won't necessarily need to worry about buses as much as we will with some of our AP exams that are, working with freshmen or sophomores. But it happens. I do have some IB kids that ride the bus to school, and other transportation issues may happen. There may be an accident out on 82nd or 86th Street that really backs things up, or also, we could have problems in the afternoon with exams running over. It probably won't be IB exams running over, but we may have AP exams running over time that impact IB students because they're taking both sets of exams. So we'll just need to be mindful of that. It happens. We'll just have to be flexible and solve issues as they arise. Okay, readying the room. So most exams are going to be small for IB. We got one exam, the social cultural anthropology exam that I'm going to be proctoring. That'll be about 45 kids, and we got a sports exercise health science that I think is 23 kids. But most of our IB exams this year are going to be relatively small. So some are as small as just one kid. So just you and one student in the room. Others may have two or three or four or five, but most of them are going to be pretty small groups. So just getting there early, just to make sure the room's set up, gathering materials from my office, looking over the room, making any necessary changes. Again, these rooms should be set up pretty standard for the month, but maybe somebody's come in after school for an activity and move the desks around, or I don't know, whatever. So just getting there early to help make sure the space is good to go. That's great. Make sure technology is in place and working. This will only be with our world language exams. And again, I'll assist with this process, but we just appreciate you being vigilant on that. A seating chart will be ready to greet the students. So I'll have a seating chart ready for you for every exam so that you can help students find their appropriate seat. And then, yeah, remember to find a place in the room for belongings to be placed. So it should be in the back of the room, side of the room, front of the room, somewhere out of the reach of the students. We don't want stuff at their desk or by their feet. So phones, all notes, all that stuff is in a backpack, and that's placed somewhere out of reach for the kids. Okay, how to start the exams. You want to keep all the exams in their sealed plastic bag until you're ready to begin, and you'll have a pair of scissors where you can use those to open up and unseal the exams and pass them out. You're going to read the script. I'll actually go to the script right here. Let's see if I can find it. Yep. The script for IB exams is actually very short. Like I said, there are four different scripts: one for the unstructured, one for the structured and the semi-structured, and then one for the multiple choice, and then one for the world language exams. If you do both AP and IB exams, you'll see that the instructions for AP exams tend to be quite long. It takes maybe sometimes 8 to 10 minutes to get through all the instructions. These go much more quickly. Again, you just follow them. They're very straightforward, nothing there too tricky. And yeah, yeah, four versions, the relatively brief, and then mark the time for the students. So again, there'll be some kind of whiteboard or chart paper or something in the room for you to kind of help the students keep track of time. Conducting the exams themselves, please try to maintain a quiet and calm environment. Again, there might be some things that happen that are outside of your control. There's a lot of construction going on in the building, or there may be a disruption in the hallway. Do your best to help mitigate those situations, and just try to stay calm in the environment itself. A lot of these students can be pretty worked up over getting good scores, and so just your ability to stay calm and just seem confident and all that really helps. And please remain vigilant. Again, this is not the place to come and catch up on the latest season of Severance while you're proctoring these exams. We want you vigilant. So bring a book to read. That's great. Try to stay off technology. Again, if you need to text me because there's some kind of emergency or situation, or you have a question, all of that is legit. Don't worry about that at all. But this isn't the time or place to be making phone calls or watching TikToks or those kinds of things. You're on the clock, and we need you to be vigilant. So Again, it can be a little boring to be sitting in a room with a kid for 2 hours while they're working on an exam. So again, just be prepared. Bring something to quietly keep you occupied that will keep your technology use to a minimum if possible. Thank you. Early dismissals. So IB will actually let students leave before the end of the exam, but there's some complications to this. There were some cheating scandals that happened around the world last year, and so they're now requiring students to be supervised for 2 hours after the start of the exam time. So even if the exam doesn't run 2 hours, those kids need to be off technology for 2 hours. So again, this is going to be vary by by case basis. Some IB exams are only 45 minutes long, some are 2.5 hours long. So I'll work with you before each exam so you kind of know who can leave or if they can leave or if they do leave, where can they go? All of that stuff we'll work out with you beforehand just to make sure you feel confident as the exam starts. So again, we'll do this on a case by case basis, and we'll discuss this before the exams where it's relevant, and it's not relevant for all of the exams, not even for most of them. So as the standard dismissal, this will happen in most cases, is again, you're just going to follow the script. It'll tell you how to end the exam. You collect all the materials, and then you want to turn them over directly to me or to Cynthia Hairston, our AP coordinator. And by that, I mean, like, don't just set them, in the room and leave the door, or, place them somewhere where you think I'll find them and text me. You need to, like, physically give them to me or to Cynthia. If anything changes about that, we'll let you know. If for some reason I'm going to be out of the building or Cynthia's going to be unavailable, we'll appoint somebody else to take control of the exams from you when you're finished. All right. So in conclusion, again, we're so grateful. We're excited to have a real great team of invigilators and proctors working with us this week, or sorry, this month. We appreciate your flexibility. Again, we're going to try to stick to the schedule as published, but things can happen. It's a complex, complicated system, both AP and IB. So we appreciate your flexibility. We'll try to communicate any changes in advance, and if you can do the same, again, if any life circumstances come up, we get it. Just please let us know ASAP. Thank you for your dependability and your consistency and your calm and your professionalism in proctoring the exams. Again, I realize it's not the most exciting work to sit, in a room with a kid for a couple hours while they do their work, but we really appreciate you stepping up and doing it dependably and professionally. If you need any help during the exams, do not hesitate to text me. I will reply very quickly or get to the room where you're at ASAP to make sure that you feel confident, the kids feel confident. And then also, we're going to be working with you to make sure all your paperwork is filed correctly so you can get paid for your work here. Cynthia's been taking the lead on that, but I'm going to be working with her this week as well to make sure that we have everybody up and ready to go. All right, so again, that's it. Please feel free to email me or text me or call me at that number if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Otherwise, we'll see you all soon. Thank you.